So far this season, we've already made videos on the 10 best duos so far, and then we did the 10 best rookies in the NHL so far, so I thought in today's video, let's talk a little bit about goalies and count down the top 10 goalies so far from this season. And as always, if you guys are new and have been enjoying the content, make sure to subscribe to the channel and click the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Starting the video off at number 10, I have Braden Holtby of the Washington Capitals. Now, Braden Holtby is currently tied for the league lead in wins with 11, and a lot of people are probably going to say he should be a little bit higher on this list. I have him at the number 10 spot because he hasn't really had the greatest numbers so far this season with just a .904 save percentage and a 2.98 goals against. But I will give Braden Holtby the benefit of the doubt because he usually doesn't have to stand on his head most nights because he plays on a very good Washington team who have been super dominant so far this season. And when the Washington Capitals need a big save, Holtby usually comes up with it and has just always been a very steady goaltender for them and has definitely been good enough for them to win so far this season. And just for the sheer fact that he is tied for the league lead in wins, I couldn't leave him off the top 10, so that's why he's at the number 10 spot right now. Moving along now to number 9, we have Carey of the Montreal Canadiens, and they're currently 11th place in the entire league and are off to a very good start to the season. They currently have a record of 11-6-5, and Carey has accounted for 10 of those 11 wins, and he's having a pretty great year with a record of 10-5-3, a .912 save percentage, and a 2.71 goals against. Yes, the save percentage and the goals against may not be Vezina type numbers, but Carey has held the Canadiens in a lot of games so far this season, and when he's your goalie, you're usually going to have a chance to win the game night in and night out. And if the Montreal Canadiens continue to play this well, I'm pretty sure Carey Price's numbers will go up as the season goes along, and some of the people I have ahead of him on this list, I think they probably will slow down as the season goes along, so Carey Price definitely does have the potential to climb up numerous spots on this list and maybe even be in the top 5 by the end of the season. Next up at number 8, we have Frederik Andersen of the Toronto Maple Leafs, who got off to a little bit of a rough start to the season, but that's kind of to be expected as he usually doesn't put up the greatest numbers in October. But over his recent starts, Freddie Andersen definitely has been pretty solid, and his numbers definitely took a big jump in the right direction after last night's shutout victory against Arizona. And Freddie Andersen is another guy like Carey Price that I definitely think could climb up this list a lot because Toronto looked great in Sheldon Keefe's debut as coach last night, and I think they're only going to continue to get better as the season goes along, and if that's the case, then I think Andersen's numbers will just get even better. So far this season, Andersen has a record of 10-5-3 with a .915 save percentage and a 2.66 goals against average. And as everybody knows, Toronto has never been an extravagant defensive team, so Freddie Andersen definitely has to come up with a lot of big saves throughout the course of a game. And out of any goalie in the league, Frederik Andersen is definitely up there in terms of his workload. He plays a lot of games, he faces a lot of shots, and I definitely think he does a pretty good job. And like I said with Carey Price, I think he has the potential to climb up this list a couple spots. Moving on now to number 7, I have Mikko Koskinen of the Edmonton Oilers, who very well could have been a lot higher on this list had he have started some more games. And I do want to give a shout out to the other goaltender in this Oilers tandem, Mike Smith, who has definitely been solid to start the year, but over the past couple of games, Mikko Koskinen has looked like a bona fide number 1 goaltender. So far this season, Koskinen has a record of 8-1-1 with a .921 save percentage and a 2.42 goals against average. And it was honestly pretty tough putting Mikko Koskinen ahead of guys like Price, Holtby, and Andersen because those guys do start so many more games, but in the games that he started, Mikko Koskinen has just been so good. And goaltending and defense is a massive reason why Edmonton has gotten off to a fantastic start to the season and have surprised a lot of people so far. And now that contract that Peter Chiarelli signed Koskinen to a year ago doesn't look that bad anymore because, like I said, Koskinen is playing like a number 1 goaltender now and playing like he is well worth the $4.5 million that he signed to. Next up, at number 6, we have Marc-Andre Fleury of the Vegas Golden Knights. The Golden Knights this year have a record of 11-9-4, and Marc-Andre Fleury has accounted for all 11 of those wins. So far this season, Marc-Andre Fleury has a record of 11-5-2, and his career average at save percentage is .913, and his career goals against is 2.56, but so far this season, he's doing better than that in both categories, with a .922 save percentage and a 2.45 goals against average. And if Fleury continues to play this well for the Vegas Golden Knights and they turn it around and start winning some more games, I definitely think by the end of the season, Fleury could be in contention for the Vezina Trophy, and it seems like he's only getting better with age, and he's been really good for Vegas ever since coming over in the expansion draft. And I'm pulling for Fleury. I hope hope his numbers only continue to get better as the season goes along and he can stay healthy and maybe even win the Vezina Trophy, because for a goaltender who has been so good for his entire career like Fleury has, he's won Stanley Cups, he's had big playoff moments, has great regular seasons as well, but he's never won a Vezina Trophy, so it would be pretty cool to see him get his first. Moving on now to number 5, we have Jordan Binnington of the St. Louis Blues. Now, heading into the season, I really didn't know what to expect from Binnington. I figured there would be a pretty big decrease in numbers because last season was just way too ridiculous to keep up, but so far this season he is proving a lot of people wrong and showing that last season was not a fluke whatsoever. He's currently tied for the league lead in wins with 11, tied with Braden Holtby and Marc-Andre Fleury, as Binnington has a record of 11-3-4 with a .926 save percentage and a 2.19 goals against. Those are some great numbers. And Binnington's great play to start the season has definitely translated to the team overall playing very good as well, as they're currently 4th overall in the league with a record of 14-4-5 for 33 points. And seeing as the St. Louis team literally just won the Stanley Cup, and it's a lot of the same guys on the team right now as it was on that Stanley Cup winning team, they should be one of the favorites to come out of the Western Conference again, and like I said, they've been super dominant to start the regular season. And if the NHL season ended tomorrow, I definitely think Jordan Binnington's name would be in the Vezina Trophy conversation. Next up, at number 4, we have Thomas Greiss of the New York Islanders, and obviously I'm going to give a huge honorable mention to Semyon Varlamov, who shares the net most of the time with Thomas Greiss, because both of these guys have been fantastic to start the season. But Thomas Greiss, especially of late, has just been on a whole nother level, as his record so far in 10 games is 9-1 with a .934 save percentage and a 2.07 goals against average. And goaltending and defense is obviously the bread and butter of this New York Islanders team, who have proved so many people wrong. I didn't even believe in them last year heading into the playoffs. I thought Pittsburgh was going to manhandle them in the first round, but it was the complete other way around. And then this season, I kind of thought they were going to fall off, but they've done the complete opposite. They've gotten even better. Right now, the Islanders are currently sitting 2nd overall in the entire league with a ridiculous record of 16-3-1, and they've played 4 less games than the first place Washington Capitals. I just gotta give so much credit to Barry Trotz and just the players on this team, because they're so relentless and they've just been super impressive, and Greiss has been amazing. Moving on now to number 3, we have Tuukka Rask of the Boston Bruins, and obviously Boston has gotten off to a great start to the season with a 14-3-5 record and are currently sitting 3rd overall in the entire league. And a big reason why they have been successful is because they've gotten great goaltending from both Tuukka Rask and Yaroslav Halak, but so far this season, Rask has been on an entirely different level. He has a record of 10-2-2 with a .931 save percentage and a 2.05 goals against. That's a great record and some great individual stats for Rask as well. And so far this season, this Boston team has just looked downright scary. Marchand and Bergeron and Pastrnak have just been ridiculously good to start the season, Marchand and Pastrnak especially, and obviously they have a great supporting cast and a pretty solid decor as well, but when the team has an off night, you can usually count on goaltending to keep them in games most nights. I mean, did you guys see that save Tuukka Rask had last night with the blocker? No stick in his hand, just whacked it with his bare hand. There isn't much padding on that side of the blocker. I mean, that was a ridiculous save by Rask. He's off to an amazing start to the season. Next up, at number 2, I have Darcy Kuemper of the Arizona Coyotes, and a lot of people may think this is too high because yes, he only has a record of 9-6, but goaltending for Arizona has been the biggest reason why they've been so successful to start the season, as they currently sit 9th overall in the entire league with a 13-8-2 record. And before I get into looking at Kuemper's stats, I do want to give a huge honorable mention to Antti Raanta, because him and Kuemper make up a pretty amazing tandem and definitely one of the better tandems in the entire league. So far this season, like I said, Kuemper does have a record of 9-6, but the most impressive stats are the save percentage and goals against, as he currently has a league best .935 save percentage and also a league best 1.93 goals against. And if the season were to end right now, I definitely think he would get some heavy consideration for the Vezina Trophy, considering how much his good play has impacted this team's success. And yes, it is pretty likely that Kuemper's numbers will come down, as I'm pretty sure he won't have under a 2 goals against by the end of the year and a ridiculous save percentage like he does, but for right now, how good he's playing, I had to show him some love and put him at number 2 because he's been one of the best goalies in the league. And now, finishing out the video at number 1, I have Connor Hellebuyck. I took a lot of things into consideration, team situation, who was playing ahead of him, record stats, all that type of stuff, and taking all that into account, I think Hellebuyck has been the best goalie in the NHL this season. I remember the year before last, Hellebuyck had an amazing season. I believe he had the record for most wins by an American-born goaltender. He was nominated for the Vezina, but then last year kind of had a disappointing season, along with a lot of other players on Winnipeg. And in order for them to stay competitive this year, especially after all they lost on the blue line, I think it was important for Hellebuyck to have a bounce-back year and become that that Vezina caliber goaltender again. And so far this season, 100% Hellebuyck has done that with a 10-7-1 record, a .928 save percentage, and a 2.45 goals against. And yes, those numbers aren't ridiculously good, but think about the D-core that is in front of Connor Hellebuyck. It's basically Josh Morrissey and then some guys, held together by duct tape and glue and all that type of stuff. I mean, they lost a lot of bodies on the blue line over the summer. And here's a little something for all you advanced stats guys that are really into that. My friend mentioned this to me, that Connor Hellebuyck is one of the best goalies in the NHL when it comes to saving shots that should end up as a goal. So that's another pretty impressive stat. He comes up with massive saves for Winnipeg, and he has been arguably the biggest reason why Winnipeg has been able to stay a relatively good and competitive team, even considering everything they lost. So that is going to do it for today's video. I am going to give honorable mentions to guys like Matt Murray, Peter Mrazek, Ben Bishop, and Robin Leonard too. They've all been great to start the year and just missed out. I definitely gave them some consideration. So if you guys did enjoy today's video, please make sure to drop a like on it and let me know down in the comment section below what your list would look like and who's your favorite to win the Vezina Trophy at this point. And with all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you did enjoy, please make sure to drop a like on it and subscribe to the channel for daily NHL content, and I will see you guys all in the next video.